right, big political battle breaks out after absconding Vijay Mallya claimed he met Finance Minister Arun Jaitley before leaving for London and made a settlement offer. Congress President Rahul Gandhi has demanded Prime Minister to in fact probe and wants Jaitley to step down while the probe is underway. The Finance Minister has categorically denied any meeting took place between the duo but suggests that Mallya misused privileges and approached him in the Parliament. Jaitley claims Mallya suggested a settlement offer but he didn't bother to get details from him. Jaitley asserts that he curtly told Mallya to make the offer to the banks. After the court hearing in London, Mallya clarified he didn't have a formal meeting with Jaitley but requested the Finance Minister to facilitate talks with the banks.
I met the Finance Minister before I left, repeated my offer to settle with the banks.
I've seen the statement of Vijay Mallya where he claims to have met me with an offer of settlement. Nothing could be further from truth. I have never given him an appointment, never at my office, never at my residence, nor have I ever offered to meet him. I do remember on one occasion, he misused his privilege as a member of Rajya Sabha. And while I was walking out of the Rajya Sabha to my room, he paced up towards me in the Parliament building and suggested that he was going to make some offer of settlement. I did not even bother to get any detail from him. I curtly told him that he must go and make it to the bankers.
Well, after Arun Jaitley denied having a formal meeting with Mallya, the former liquor baron issued a clarification.
I happened to meet Mr. Jaitley in Parliament and I told him that I was leaving for London and that I want to settle with the banks and would he please facilitate discussions. I did not have any formal meeting scheduled with him.
Now, the opposition was quick to pounce on this great political opportunity, even though the centre had denied all charges.
The phrase used by Mallya today is that he met the Finance Minister. I know there is a clarification, but met the Finance Minister does not suggest a passing, casual, walking meeting inside the house of Rajya Sabha or in Parliament. I think we need proper disclosures, full inquiries, and the moot question remains, at that time, why was no action taken in view of the knowledge of such situations in terms of allowing him to leave?
This is a fact that all of us had known earlier. Now that it has come out in the open, from the horse's mouth itself, and whatever denials that the government may issue, the fact of the matter is even the Finance Minister accepts that he said something to that effect. Now it only confirms the fact that all these people who have looted our public money by taking loans from the banks and absconded from the country, not one of them has happened to leave the country without the knowledge of the government.
Well, after fugitive liquor baron Vijay Mallya dropped the big bomb, calling that he met the Finance Minister before leaving for United Kingdom, India Today's consulting editor Rajdeep Sardesai spoke to BJP Sambit Patra and Congress's Sanjay Jha on this.
Now, Sambit Patra, we've got the Finance Minister once again on record making it very clear that this was just a chance meeting, and he told very clearly, Mr. Mallya, please go to the bankers, I have nothing to do with this. But at the same time, questions will arise because PL Punia, Congress leader, is claiming a day before that he saw the Finance Minister have a 2-hour-long meeting with Vijay Mallya, according to him.
No, Rajdeep, first and foremost, I don't understand whether Mr. Mallya briefs Mr. Punia. How does Mr. Punia know that there was a 2-hour-long meeting with Mr. Arun Jaitley? Was he standing outside Mr. Arun Jaitley's room as guard?
He claims he saw it.
Did he post any detective or a spy out there? Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, you have to allow the others to speak when you have asked a question, and you have repeated your words umpteen number of times that he claims he saw it. You cannot see a person for 2 hours, Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai. You can see a person getting into or out of the room, but you would not pry over the person for 2 hours to see whether the person was spending 2 hours time with someone. So Mr. Punia in fact should in fact be questioned and interrogated as to how he was briefed by Mr. Vijay Mallya. How did Mr. Vijay Mallya say that Mr. Jaitley and he met for 2 hours? Was Mr. Vijay Mallya keeping in touch with Congress spokespersons? Number one. Now number two, here is the letter of Mr. Vijay Mallya. If you consider whatever Mr. Mallya is saying is true, then let me pull out this letter dated 15th April 2016, which both of us have debated. In this letter, he says that this present government discriminates against Mr. Mallya because this present government's SFIO, CBI and Enforcement Directorate, all of them are pouncing on him and has made a poster boy of default out of an innocent person like Mr. Vijay Mallya. He himself says, and in one of his paragraphs he said, I have good reason to believe that this government agencies, CBI, SFIO, ED are now dealing with me in a highly prejudicial manner despite full cooperation. It has been further stated that I have personally brought the private sector into disrepute thus. So he says that this government in fact is prejudiced against him.
Let
In the last
Sanjay Jha now
paragraph he
respond.
concludes saying that there is discrimination against me by the government. Just 10 more seconds, Rajdeep ji, and thereafter Mr. Jha can come in. Now I produce a very important letter which I would request your channel to close up and show. This letter is mother of all letters. This letter dated 4th October 2011. I would request the camera person to please close this up.
Tell us what it says,
Mr. Mallya writes to the then Prime. This is a letter which Mr. Mallya writes to the then Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, thanking him that thank you sir that you gave me an appointment, and thank you despite the fact that I am an NPA, non-performing asset, you agreed that my loans would be given to me. I thank you that you directed your secretary Mr. Tekye A. Nair to take care of my needs. This is a letter, as you can see over here, to Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Okay,
thanking him.
Your 10 seconds are up. Let Sanjay Jha respond. Sanjay Jha, what is very clear, and as Vijay Mallya said it today, he says he's a political football. He's caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, between the Congress and the BJP. And the fact is, he claims that he's actually ready to pay back his loans. He's ready with 15,000 crore worth of assets before the Karnataka High Court. Settle the amount is what he claims. He's being treated as a political football. You are today attacking Arun Jaitley when Mr. Jaitley claims it was just a casual conversation.
Rajdeep, this is not the time to be charitable towards India's finance minister. The truth is, if you had a meeting with Vijay Mallya, structured or unstructured, this should have been in the public domain, voluntarily coming from him and not coming from somebody whom the BJP calls as a fugitive. Now let me tell you this, don't forget Vijay Mallya went into the Rajya Sabha in his last tenure backed by the Bharatiya Janata Party. Point number two, and I'm glad you raised that point because I was going to say it anyway. It's very unusual that Mr. Jaitley says that I knew that he was indulging in financial skullduggery, but when he left India, I mean the government had removed the lookout circular that they had earlier, the CBI had issued. Very, very intriguing indeed. And the third point, which is very critical here, Vijay Mallya lands in London and now he's making statements in the court. Now his statement, if you look at it very carefully, says he had a meeting, he had offers that he made. It is very presumptuous on the part of Mr. Jaitley to use the perception of some journalists like Rahul who may have seen him having a brief kind of an interaction with him in Rajya Sabha, and to say that that was the only meeting we had. I will bring your attention, Rajdeep, to the press conference held by the Congress party around the March 1st, 2nd, when Vijay Mallya disappeared to London with 9 suitcases, getting a red carpet farewell given by Mr. Modi's government.
Right. In fact, all eyes now are on the Kerala High Court as the hearing gets underway in the nun rape case today. The state government will file its response after the High Court asked for a report regarding the progress made in the investigation and also on the action taken on the complaint filed by the survivor regarding the threat to her life. Meanwhile, an internal probe by the church body has been launched, in fact, to authenticate nuns' charges. Missionaries of Jesus will investigate into what they call a conspiracy to defame the church and Bishop Franco. The commission will also probe into the sources of revenue for the nun who are protesting against the bishop.
Good afternoon, sir.
നമ്മുടെ കേസിൽ കുറേ കോൺട്രാഡിക്ഷൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. വിക്ടിം, കംപ്ലൈനന്റ്, പിന്നെ ഈ അക്യൂസ്ഡ്, വിറ്റ്നസ്സസ് എല്ലാവരുടെ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്മെൻറ്റിൽ കുറേ കോൺട്രാഡിക്ഷൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. എന്താണ് കോൺട്രാഡിക്ഷൻസ് അതെല്ലാം മനസ്സിലാക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ടത്. അത് എങ്ങനെ വെരിഫിക്കേഷൻ ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഐറൺ ഔട്ട് ചെയ്യണം അതെല്ലാം മുഴുവൻ ഡിസൈഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്.
The normal process of an inquiry would be the Vatican would appoint a senior bishop to conduct the investigation, who would then form an inquiry team, which would have persons that would be of different aspects. So there would probably be a legal expert, someone who might be of a retired police commissioner level, who would understand the law, understand the legal aspects, and there would be people who would understand the church law. So it would be, as well as there would be persons who would be sensitive to what's happening in the context of the nun, women in general, therefore that sensitivity to ask the right kind of questions with the right kind of disposition so that the victim of a crime like this doesn't suffer more humiliation in how things are done.
The bishop should step down because there are a lot of allegations, a lot of controversies happening, and he is representing the church. Just to safeguard the image of the church, I think he should step down, and then inquiry should be followed up. And here in this case also I would say that the inquiry process is being so delayed. I don't know what is the reason, so the truth is not coming out.
All right, breaking news coming in. Encounter breaks out at Sopore. Two militants believed to be trapped inside a residential house area, in fact, have been cordoned off, and the internet service have been snapped in the area to prevent rumor mongers. Now, as we speak, the forces are closing in on these terrorists. Let me go across to my colleague Ashraf Vani, who is joining us with more details. In fact, Ashraf, bring us more details. Who are these people? Those who are trapped? Which militant group do they belong to?
Basically, Ankit, yesterday there was some kind of a tension in the Sopore town as one of the killed militants in Wednesday's encounter in Handawara hails from Sopore. And yesterday evening itself, there was a gun salute given by some local militants to the killed militant in Sopore. And those two militants are believed to be holed up in that residential area, which is cordoned off now. And as you said, still the family members of the family are inside the house, and there are efforts to bring all the civilians from the area out so that the militants may be either given the offer for the surrender or encounter may be started. But so far, after the initial exchange of fire for a few minutes early in the morning today, there is no more gunfire, and efforts are still on to pursue these militants, which are the local, to surrender.
Ashraf, also, we have always seen how at these occasions the militants and the terrorists do use the locals. There is support with stone pelting. How is the situation on the ground right now?
As far as this area is concerned, it is very densely populated. There are apprehensions that these kinds of situations may arise here, but for those things, the security forces have not only called in the additional forces in number to the area, but also the internet services in the Sopore itself have been snapped so far. And we are seeing all the existent entries into the town had been blocked. No one is allowed to come inside the town. And also the people living in the nearby areas had been told that they should not come out from the houses as far as this encounter gets over. But there are still chances that these kinds of situations may be there. But to avoid those, the security forces are taking the all measures so that these things could be avoided. As I said, the first efforts will be for the police and security forces to bring all the civilians from the area, and then if the militants will not surrender, the final push will be taken by the security forces either to raise down the house or to fire in the house so that these militants could be killed, because this is the policy of the security forces so far in the Kashmir Valley to tackle the militancy in the valley.
All right, thank you so much, Ashraf, for joining us with all those details. We will come back to you for more on this story. All right, with that, it's a short break. In fact, India's biggest youth summit returns to the national capital. You can catch all the details in the 9th edition of the Mind Rock Summit after a very short break. Stay tuned.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.